All right, so again, solving inequalities, if they give you a less than or greater than symbol in the inequality that they want you to solve, you're going to use an empty circle when you graph it. If they give you a less than or equal to or greater than or equal to symbol, you're going to have to use a solid circle when you graph it. Okay? Now, just a little hint. I'm going to put this in a little different color here, a hint. For best results, try to keep your variable on the left side of the inequality. What I mean by that is, you know how sometimes when you're solving a problem, you get like, let's say x equals 3 or like x equals negative 10, right? But sometimes you get like 3 equals x, where the variable's on the right side, okay? It's better if you keep them looking like this, okay? Not that the other one is wrong, but for inequalities, it's easy when you keep them on the left side. Right now I'm going to explain to you guys why. Okay, but that's the hint. For the best results, try to keep your variable on the left side of the inequality. Okay, why would you want that? Well, here we go. Here's the next tip. If they give you a y less than or y less than or equal to, the line goes to the left. And I always tell people, follow the arrows. Okay? So if they give you an inequality and you end up solving for y less than or equal to, or maybe it's like x is less than or equal to, x is less than, whatever letter it happens to be. But your letter's on the left side, and then the inequality is pointing at the letter. It's pointing left. If the inequality points left, then when you draw your line, you're going to draw it to the left. Okay? And last little piece of information here. If they give you a y is greater than or y is greater than or equal to, so notice how this time the inequalities are pointing to the right side, right? They're pointing to the right side here. So the line goes to the right. These problems are pretty easy, guys, but there's a lot of little there's a lot of little things that you have to say, okay, which way is it pointing? What am I solving for? But once you got it, it's not that hard. And we're going to put right here, follow the arrows. Okay, so remember how I told you I'll give you like a little cheat sheet so you don't have to worry about the whole definitions of these things. So right now I'll give that to you. Just let me give everybody like a little minute to try to catch up in case you're writing stuff down. But we're going to be solving for these inequalities. Eventually we'll get our answers. We're going to translate those answers into a graph. Okay? Once we get the graph, that's our solution. There's not like y equals 7 or anything like that. No, the picture is our answer. Okay, that's what we're looking for, the picture. All right, so let me give you guys a little cheat sheet that I usually tell people to do whenever they're doing these things. So if less than or greater than, open circle. Less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, close circle. Okay, so that's the first thing. So without all the words, okay? So if you see a less than or a greater than, the circle will be open. If you see a less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, the circle will be closed. Okay? Here's the other part. If y less than or y less than or equal to, you're going to go left. Okay? Y greater than or y greater than or equal to, you're going to go right. So that's your little cheat sheet in a sense, okay? This is what you're going to want to use to figure out which direction are you going to go. You know, should the circle be a solid circle or should it be an empty circle, right? So all that stuff is what we need. And it's all just kind of put together right there without all the words and stuff like that. So knowing all of this, we should be able to do these examples they want us to do. There's one more piece of information that you guys have to know, okay, and then we'll get into the problems. So again, before I move on to that one little piece, let me just go up to the beginning here. Remember, these are all the hints, okay, that you need to know. So that's what we wrote, right? If this happens, then you have to do the following, right? So we wrote all these hints, okay? Told you right there in green that it's always best to try to have your variable on the left side if possible. If you can do that, that's great, okay? If you can't, it's okay. And then look for these other hints right here. When you see a less than or equal to, you go left. Greater than or equal to, you go right. And all of that was basically summarized in that box right there. Okay? So that's your little cheat sheet, the one you're going to be looking at when you do your work. Now, the one last thing, I'm going to change the color here. Okay? We're just going to put like important. Okay? This is really important. If you multiply or divide, so if you multiply or divide both sides of an inequality by a negative number, so both sides of an inequality, so multiply or divide by a negative number, you must flip the sign. So if the symbol is pointing left, you got to make it point right. Okay, if the symbol originally was pointing right and then you multiplied by a -3 on both sides, then you got to make it point left. Okay? If you multiply by a normal number, say by 7, that's fine. Nothing changes. But if you multiply by a -3 on both sides, then it's going to flip the sign around. Okay? Same with division. If you're going to divide both sides by a -12, go ahead, but just make sure you flip the sign. Okay? And this is it. This is everything you need to know in order to do this lesson. So we're going to go in and we'll try to see, I think I told you we have like 8 problems overall. So we'll try to see if we can do like 3 or 4 of them for you guys, okay? At least 3. But again, this is very important. If you multiply or divide both sides of an inequality by a negative number, you must flip the sign, okay? Flip the sign. So here we go. Remember, all these notes will be given to you guys later on today. So, all right, let's take a look at this. We always like starting at the beginning. So we have 2 and 3. Let's go ahead and do, well, question number 2. Okay, these are actually I almost would rather not start with that. Hold on, let me see. Let's start question number 4. And then we'll go to number 2. Because the question for number 2 or number 3 is going to be, what happens if the letter's on the right side? Remember I told you the letter should be on the left so that you can make it easier for you? But what if the letter's on the right side? What do you do? So we'll talk about that for questions 2 and 3 right now. But let's go to question 4. So here we go. All right, I gotta solve for P right here, okay? Now, people will do one of two things. Some of you guys might say, I'm gonna distribute, which is fine. Some of you guys might say, I'm gonna divide everything by 4, which is also fine because there's a 4 in the front. But most of you guys will probably distribute. So let's go ahead and do that, okay? We're gonna distribute. So 4 times 2, that's 8p, okay? And then 4 times 8, that's 32, greater than or equal to 96. Notice this is not hard. This is just like an equal sign. You're just kind of treating it the same way. In order to get p by itself, I'm going to subtract 32 on both sides, right? So minus 32 minus 32. So I get 8p is greater than or equal to, and 96 minus 32 is 64. Notice I have not multiplied or divided yet, so I don't have to worry about mixing anything up with the sign in terms of flipping it. But I am going to divide both sides by 8. If I divide both sides by a positive number, do I need to flip the sign? No, right? I don't need to flip it over. So this is p greater than or equal to 8. So remember, what kind of dot should it be? A solid or an empty? Solid, right? Our cheat sheet said that if you see something like this or like this, it's a solid circle, right? So notice it cannot be which one for sure. Well, it can't be A because this one is empty. So it can't be A. So it's either B, C, or D. Now, notice how my letter P is on the left side. Okay, that's the way I would prefer it. Which way is the arrow pointing? This arrow right here. Yeah, to the right. Thank you. It's pointing to the right side. Which one of these 3 problems has an arrow pointing to the right starting from 8? So it's C. So my answer is C. Okay, now if you had to draw this on your own, I always tell people you get the number that you got your answer. So here's 8. Okay, I do it the lazy way, by the way, guys. So I always do like just 3 numbers. I put my answer in the middle and then 2 numbers on the left and right. And then I say, okay, greater than or equal to, that's a solid dot. Which way is it pointing? To the right. So that's the way I would draw it. Obviously, their picture looks way better than mine. Okay? But you can see that your answer here matches this answer there. Okay? And then the picture, you just got to make sure you translate it properly. Okay? So this is how you do these problems. You solve for them and then you graph them. Okay? So we're going to go back to 2 and 3 after. Let's look at, I'm trying to see which one might be best. Let's look at number 7. Okay? We're going to check out number 7. So for number 7, let me just rewrite it here. We got 8 times a plus 6 greater than or equal to 34 minus 6a. So you're going to want to distribute first, right? So 8 times a, that's 8a. 8 times 6, 48. And then the rest of it's just going to stay. So 34 minus 6a. Which one should I move, the 8a or the negative 6a? I always like moving the smaller one. So which one would be the smaller one? The negative 6a, right? That's smaller than 8a. So let's add 6a to both sides. And I also want to do that because it's going to keep my variables on the left side. I like my variables on the left side if possible. Okay? And that's why I'm waiting for questions 2 and 3, because those are going to end up on the right side. So I want you to see what you have to do if they're on the right side over there. So I get 14a plus 48 greater than or equal to 34. All right, let's move that 48 over. So we subtract minus 48 on both sides. Okay? So I get 14a, because it's going to cancel. I get 14a greater than or equal to, what is that, a negative, it's not 26, 34. My brain is not functioning properly. Is that at 26? No. Negative 14, 16? I don't know what, hold on. Let me do this the old-fashioned way because my brain is not computing. That would be a 14, so this would be a negative 14. Okay. I am right on that, am I? Yeah, I'm right on that. Okay. Sometimes, by the way, just so you guys know, I can do addition, multiplication, division, factorials. I can do tons of stuff in my head. Fractions, no problem. My struggle is subtracting. My brain doesn't subtract normally. If you tell me what's 10 minus 7, now I know it's 3, but my brain doesn't do 10 minus 7. My brain says, you have 7. How much more do you add to get to 10? That's the way I subtract. My brain creates an addition problem. I don't know why. So anytime I got to subtract, it takes me longer. Because I'm doing an equation in my head. Instead of just saying 10 minus 7, well, that's 3. Right? My brain tries to do it a different way. So that is my struggle. So whenever you see me subtract, I usually take longer. You'll notice that because I'm trying to do the thing in my head like how much is missing. Right? So I got 14a. Let me just write this out again. I'm going to have to divide, right? Dividing by a positive 14. So I don't need to flip the sign, okay? No need to flip. So I get a is greater than or equal to negative 1. That's my answer. Now, if you look, A, B, C, D, you can see that this answer matches this answer. Now, let's just verify that it's right. What kind of circle should it be? A solid or an empty circle? Solid, right? Because if it says greater than or equal to, it should be a solid circle. Which way should it be going? To the right or to the left? To the right. Okay, how do I know? Because this thing right here, you can think of it like an arrow, right? It's going that way. It's pushing it to the right side. Now, you only follow the arrow if the variable is on the left side. If the variable is on the right side, you actually go the opposite direction. So let's go back to the 2 original problems, okay? So your answer would be A right here. Let's go back to what they call the easy problems. Which one do you want me to do, 2 or 3? 2? All right, let's do 2. So I'm going to rewrite this. Negative 12 less than 5x plus 7 plus 6. That's actually a good choice because it's not a less than or equal to type problem. It's just a less than. So we'll see a different type of dot. So good choice on that. All right, let's combine. Negative 12 is less than 5x. 7 plus 6, that's 13. Now I got to get x by itself, so let me subtract 13 on both sides. So minus 13, I get negative 25 is less than 5x. So my last step is to divide by 5. Notice I'm dividing both sides by a positive number, so there is no need to flip the sign. I'm going to give you a little hint here. Question number 3, this one right here, you will have to divide by a -3 on both sides. So you are going to have to flip the sign for number 3, okay? So just a little heads up for later. So my answer is -5 less than x. What kind of circle should I get for this answer right here? Open, right? It's got to be open. Which way should it go? This is a trick question. Remember, if the letter is on the left side, you follow the arrow. Is the letter on the left side? No, it's on the right side, right? So if it's on the right side, go the opposite way. So that's pointing left, so I should go to the right. Okay, and you only do that when the variable is not on the left side. We want it to be on the left side. Now, let me just show you, just to prove it to you. I can get this answer, and I'm going to flip it around, okay? It would look like this. Notice how it's pointing to the right? And that's exactly the way I drew it, right? I drew it going to the right side. Okay? I just flipped it around. You can do that with your own answers. Just flip it. The key is this. You're going to move the x to the left. You're going to get the -5, move it to the right, and then you're going to tell yourself, look at the one in yellow. What is it pointing at? It's pointing at the -5, right? So when you rewrite it, make sure it's still pointing at the -5. Okay, if you want to rewrite it, you can do that, so you can put it in its normal form, and then you can just follow the arrow. But always pay attention to what it's pointing at. Or, some of you guys learned this many years ago, but do you guys remember learning that? The Pac-Man, right? You ask yourself, what number is it eating, or what is it eating? The x, so make sure it's always eating the x. Doesn't matter where the x is. Always make sure it eats that variable. So if you want to do that, go ahead. I know some teachers still use the Pac-Man. I don't even know if you guys even know what Pac-Man is. Anybody here not know what Pac-Man is? So you guys all at least know what Pac-Man is? You've seen it? Has anybody here ever not played a Pac-Man game? So one? All right, one honest soul. Yeah, that breaks my heart. But that's when games used to be games. Now you guys have save points every 5 minutes so that you don't cry about it when you die. Right? What'd you say?
Just go on Google and just find
Oh, you can find it on Google? There you go. That's your homework for this weekend. Find Pac-Man. Heck, find Mrs. Pac-Man and play that. So, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and stop, guys. If you're wondering why I didn't do any of these down here at the bottom ones don't require a picture. They just want you to solve them. So it's not a big deal. And if they look really complicated, they're not, guys. It's just distribution, okay? Don't let them scare you. It's just distribution. Notice, do not graph, okay? So go ahead and start your work. And I'll just kind of walk around and see how it's going.